What's up everybody, once again my name is Matt, and did you know Link is dead in Majora's Mask? Well, at least that's what a very popular theory would have you to believe. You see, many people speculate that the land of Termina is Link's own purgatory, if you will, and that the 5 major areas, Clocktown, Woodfall, Snowhead, Great Bay, and Econo, all represent the 5 different stages of grief. With Clocktown being denial. When you first arrive in Clocktown, everyone seems to be going about their business just fine, blissfully unaware of the impending doom that befalls them. A visit to the mayor's office uncovers the truth of the matter. Certain residents refuse to believe the moon will fall, and this overall attitude exists throughout all of Clocktown, at least until day 3, when the town becomes noticeably empty. You can often find several of the town's citizens hiding in fear, trying to cope with the terrible danger that can no longer be ignored. Woodfall represents anger. Link doesn't actually experience this emotion himself, however. Instead, the game portrays this feeling through the Deku King. When you arrive in the Deku Palace, you soon find out the Deku Princess has gone missing, and in a blind fit of rage, the Deku King blames an innocent monkey and plans to punish him for the disappearance of his daughter. Snowhead brings on the next phase, bargaining. Again, we don't see this through Link, but instead through the character Darmani III. This example is pretty straightforward, as Darmani himself says, "As I am, I can only watch as Goron Village is slowly buried in ice. I may have died, but I cannot rest." So, you can use magic? The Soaring One also told me that you are able to use it. I beg you, bring me back to life with your magic. You see, Darmani cannot accept the fact that he has failed his mission and left his people to freeze. He tried to bargain with Link to bring him back to life, or at the very least, take up his mantle and do what he couldn't to save Goron Village. Great Bay is obviously depression. Shortly after encountering Macau, you learn of Lulu and how the Gerudo pirates have stolen her eggs, leaving her isolated, silently gazing out towards Great Bay Temple. It's quite clear that Lulu is depressed, and only when Link plays the new wave Bossa Nova, a song that is taught after recovering all of her eggs, does Lulu move on, regain her voice, which allows us as the player to continue on with the rest of the game. Which brings us to Econo and the last stage of grief, acceptance. Econo is quite literally the land of the dead. Wandering spirits with lingering regrets fill the land and make up most of the enemies you will encounter. Perhaps the biggest nod to this though is Stone Tower, a giant obstacle Link must climb by leaving shells or parts of himself behind to reach what you could consider enlightenment by getting the light arrows. Other major arguments include Termina's name, its location, and how Epona got teleported to Romani Ranch, why NPCs look the same as those in Ocarina of Time, and the fact that the Elegy of Emptiness appears to only allow Link to create statues of deceased characters. There is also the known fact that this game takes place before Twilight Princess in the official timeline, which would mean that if Link was dead in Majora's Mask, the hero Shade would still appear in that game. It all seems to fit together, doesn't it? Well, now that we have an understanding to the basis of this theory, let's start picking it apart chronologically. I would like to add that my goal of this video is not to attack any other YouTuber or prove them wrong, so to speak. I just want to offer the other side of this theory. That being said, let's begin. First and foremost, after the events of Ocarina of Time, Link sets off into the woods in search of Navi. This is where we meet the Skull Kid, who then uses Majora's Mask to sneak up on Link, steal not only his ocarina, but his horse, and cause us to follow him into what would seem like a trap. Some people seem to believe that this is where Link dies, the fall from this tree. And to no surprise of anyone, yes, 3D Zelda games have fall damage, and yeah, it is in the realm of the game, but falling too far does cause some harm to Link. Although we don't know how far the fall really is, many assume it would be long enough to kill off our hero. However, they're overlooking one minor detail: where Link lands. You see, after falling an unknown distance, Link just so happens to land on a Deku Flower, and in Majora's Mask, if you fall from a height that would normally cause you to take damage, you can negate that effect entirely by landing safely on, you guessed it, a Deku Flower. So for now, and the sake of this video, let's say Link does survive this fall. That still doesn't explain what happened to Epona, right? How did she end up in Romani Ranch? Well, let's look at Majora's Mask itself. The power that this mask has is completely off the charts. Just from the few opening moments of the game, we've already seen two of its powers, invisibility and levitation. Throughout the game, you'll learn that Majora's Mask can do all sorts of crazy things, including causing the moon to fall. Surely teleportation would be an easy feat for a mask with such power, and it's not like teleportation is exclusive to this mask, or even this game. Several times in the Zelda universe, teleportation is used by the game's villains. Zant, Girahim, and even to some degree Ganon all use teleportation across several games. So that explains how Epona got to Romani Ranch. But where in the world is Termina? Well, I'd say you're asking the wrong question, as it's not where in the world, but what in the world is Termina? Remember that twisting hallway that led you into the base of the clock tower? That was a portal connecting the world of Termina to the world of Hyrule. Think that's far-fetched? Take a look at the official Majora's Mask game guide that released alongside the game. There is a section detailing a map that shows the Lost Woods leading to a portal to Termina, proving that Hyrule and Termina are two separate places. Not to mention, parallel worlds are no stranger to the Legend of Zelda series. Just take a look at both A Link Between Worlds and A Link to the Past. In A Link Between Worlds, you have Lorule, which is the polar opposite of Hyrule, even having its own Triforce. And in A Link to the Past, you have the Dark World. Not to mention that several times in both Hyrule Historia and the original Majora's Mask game guide, Termina is referred to as a parallel world, which the portal to just so happens to be in the tree that Link fell down while chasing the Skull Kid. This would also explain why several of the NPCs look the same as the characters from Ocarina of Time. Let's talk about Termina's name. It's not very subtle, but Termina is only one letter away from the word terminal, or as one definition would describe it, the end. But let's not forget that terminal has a second meaning, and in a recent interview with series producer Eiji Aonuma, the man himself confirmed that the name Termina is derived from the second meaning of the word, a place where people come and go. Which makes sense since Clocktown is kinda like the main terminal to the other parts of the world, which are all connected by Termina Field. But what about the Elegy of Emptiness? When Link plays this song while wearing a transformation mask, the statues that spawn all appear to be of a deceased character. However, if you look closely at each statue, you'll notice that, yes, for each of the transformation masks, the statues have their eyes whited out and appear to be dead. But Link's statue, while he isn't wearing a mask, has pupils and looks more lively than the rest. Still don't believe me? Alright. When Link first arrives in Econo, he quickly finds a composer named Sharp, who greets you with the line, "This is no place for one as full of life as you." Econo is the land of the dead, and if Link is also dead, why would he not belong there? Furthermore, remember Pamela's father? You know, the dude who turned himself into a Gibdo while aggressively studying the spirits in Econo? Well, if you talk to him as Link, he only has to do research on his fairy Tattle. However, if you wear a transformation mask, he will say this. "Oh, my ghost radar is reacting fiercely, but this is minutely different from its usual response. This is a very intriguing response. You seem to be both similar to a ghost and different from one at the same time. This is very intriguing. Could you remain here for a while and permit me to research you?" The readings from his machine are mixed while wearing the transformation masks of the deceased. This also proves that Link is very much alive. And remember, these two events take place in Econo Canyon, a place where Link should be well past the denial phase of grief and more towards acceptance, so there's no way that's what would cause the strange readings. I'm not done just yet though. In Majora's Mask, the phrase, "You've met with a terrible fate," comes up in very distinct locations, like when you first meet the Happy Mask salesman in the clock tower, which on its own would make you believe that he's referring to the fact that you've been turned into a Deku scrub. But it appears in one other location, at the end of the world when you fail to stop the moon from falling. A lot of people seem to think that because this phrase is repeated here, it means that the terrible fate the masked salesman was referring to wasn't that you were turned into a Deku scrub, but that you died. Thankfully, Majora's Mask 3D clears this up just a little bit with some extra text which reads, "And so the angry moon fell from the sky, annihilating this world and its many inhabitants." With this small addition, it makes it quite clear that not only is Termina a parallel world, but the terrible fate the masked salesman talks about isn't related to you being dead. But now some of you are probably wondering, if Link is alive in Majora's Mask, how does the hero shade in Twilight Princess fit into all of this? Well, let's take a look at Hyrule Historia. This book not only confirmed that the hero shade is the hero of time himself, but that Link in Twilight Princess is a descendant of his. Now, some of you might be saying, oh, that's just a reincarnation of Link, not an actual blood relative, right? Well, let's again turn to Hyrule Historia for the answer. When talking about Midna looking for a hero, it states that Link is a young man from Ordon Village, in whose veins flowed the blood of the hero of time. Not only that, but while learning the hidden skills from the hero shade, the phrase, "They are forgotten ways that do not leave our bloodline," shows up. Sounds to me like our ocarina playing boy grew up to be a father, so there's no way he could have died as a child in Majora's Mask. Not to mention that had Link died in the Lost Woods as a child, he would not have turned into a Stalfos like most tend to believe. According to Hyrule Historia, children who die in the Lost Woods turn to a Skull Kid. Only adults turn to Stalfos. Now, I understand, in order for this to have happened, the hero of time would have had to retire his blade and start a family. Evidence of this is circumstantial at best, and I want to tread carefully here as to not dive into the realm of fanfiction, but there is a theory that believes Link would have likely chosen Malin from Lon Lon Ranch to be his bride. And there are several clues that could point to this in Ocarina of Time. Like for instance, Talon jokes about Link marrying Malin, and sure it was in jest, but right outside the Temple of Time, a gossip stone speaks about how Malin wishes to be one day swept off her feet by a knight in shining armor. Could Link really be considered a knight though? Well, he might have been at some point. In Hyrule Historia, it briefly mentions the Knights of Hyrule, and states that it was possible that Link, the hero of time, was a Hylian knight himself. And although it's not technically a canon game, Hyrule Warriors could prove that within its opening cutscene and first mission. But why Malin? Link had several love interests in Ocarina of Time, it seems, so why would he choose her? To figure that out, let's look at his descendant, Twilight Princess Link. His lifestyle is that of a rancher, it would seem, and given the fact that Malin would have likely inherited Lon Lon Ranch from her father, it's not hard to see where he would have gotten that from. Then there is also the fact that Epona song exists in Twilight Princess, and this is the song that was taught to Link by Malin, and no doubt had special meaning to both of them. As a result, it would have likely been passed down through the family. Like I said, a lot of this is circumstantial at best, but you have to admit, there are some valid points that would be very hard to dispute. Until then though, that's just a hypothesis. A game hypothesis. Yeah, it's just really not the same, is it? But seriously guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It was a lot of work to write and put all this together, and I could not have done this alone. I had some help from another YouTuber who goes by the name of The One. A link to his Majora's Mask video will be on screen now. And of course, this video was inspired by MatPat over at the Game Theorist channel. So on screen will be a link to his Link is Dead theory, so you can see the other side of this debate if you'd like. Of course, I'd encourage you to leave a comment down below letting me know what you think, and if you could, leave a like on this video or share it with a friend, it would help me out a bunch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. But once again guys, my name is Matt, and I'll catch you in the next one.